Here we're looking at perimeter, but kind of looking at it from the perspective of some of these complex figures. The perimeter is the sum of the lengths of a polygon's sides. So basically, if we just add up all the sides, that's the perimeter. It's the distance around the outside of this thing, okay? As I kind of trace the polygon, that's the perimeter. Now we're going to be looking at some kind of odd polygons here. So looking at like this first one, I want to find the perimeter of this thing. We're used to finding the perimeter of very simple shapes like rectangles and squares and stuff like that, just adding up all the sides. But here, we just have to make sure we identify all those sides properly, and then we're going to add up all the sides, essentially, okay? And so as I work my way around this thing, because each of these things, each of these dashes means each of these sides with one dash is the same. And so what happens here for this one, I know that this is 4 inches, and then this piece here is 4 inches. And so I just keep labeling all the pieces that I know, 4 inches for this one, and 4 inches for this one. And then down here, these two pieces are the same, but I don't have a measurement for those pieces. And so it's really important to kind of look out from this thing and say, well, if I kind of think about it from the perspective of what I just did, if I started here and went all the way to here, think about the distances that I've covered. Like from here to here, comparing that to some of the things I've already identified, that was 4 inches, okay? And then as I kind of work my way across that next block to right here, well, that means I would go over another 4 inches, okay? And then if I worked my way across this last block here to this point, I would cover another 4 inches up here. And so when I kind of look at this, not from the perspective of following each of those steps, kind of over and down, just following each of those blocks over, I cover a distance of 12 inches. And when we look at that, that's the measurement that we're talking about down here. This is going to be 12 inches from this end to this end, okay, when I measure it out, okay? So I'm using pieces of those little blocks that I just identified, okay? And now the fact that this has 2 dashes through it, and I know that this side and this side must be the same, well, that means this side over here must also be 12 inches, okay? And again, I could have done that the same way. I could have said, hey, if I kind of look at this taking one block at a time, as I go down one block, that's 4 inches. And I go down another block, that's another 4 inches, and then down another block, that's another 4 inches. So that translates into 12 inches over on this side, okay? So now kind of looking at this thing, if I want the perimeter of this guy, well, now I can just add up all these sides. And so when you look at something like this guy, I've got a bunch of 4s to add up. And so I add up all those 4s. A nice way to do that is you could count how many 4s. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 4s. So another way to add 6 4s is just do 4 times 6. So there's 24 inches total over here. And then plus these other 2. That's going to give me a total of 48 inches. Okay, so the perimeter on this one is 48 inches. And really what it all comes down to here is just doing our segment addition. All right, so as we look at the different pieces, using segment addition to find those missing larger sides, and then using segment addition to add up all the sides and get the perimeter. Okay? If I look at something like this guy, notice I have a parallelogram and a triangle right next to each other. And so using some of my rules, some of my properties for parallelograms, I know that in a parallelogram, so right here I've got this parallelogram, I know in a parallelogram that the opposite sides are the same. So this side is 25, which means this side's also 25 inches, okay? I know that in a parallelogram, once again, opposite sides are the same, so this guy right here is 14 inches. Over here must be 14 inches, okay? And so really, I have all the pieces I need from the parallelogram. Well, I can work my way around the outside of this thing now. And so as I kind of work my way around the outside, notice I don't use either of these 2 measurements as I find the perimeter, all right? But I needed one of those to find this piece that was out here. But now I can just add up all the values on the outside. So here we go. Add all of these guys together. And, that's a job for my calculator. Once again, we plug it right into the calculator, and it looks like it gives me 101. So the perimeter on this one is 101 inches. Okay?